Yeah, I believe we are set to go now. All right. Let me put it on record so that all right. Welcome everyone to this. Wait, I think I'm having echo somewhere. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we are good to go now. So I welcome everyone to this conversation today. It's today is the 22nd of November 2025, and it is a week we call International Education Week. And this International Education Week is something that is a very important event that is um, hosted or co-hosted by the U.S. Department of Education and U.S. Department of State in commemoration of what we call intercultural exchange, which international students bring up in their international education in any country in order to contribute to both their host and home country. And we at Education African Scholars Global Connect, in the spirit of this conversation, we always try to hold a panel discussion towards this and discuss contemporary issues that will guide young people studying in different countries, both in US, Canada, UK, Nigeria, Ghana, and all and what have you. So it's a celebration that we always hold every year. And this year we are going to look at one of the burning issues, technology, how AI shapes the world of work today. You guys will agree with me with that. AI has come to stay. Though a lot of people believe that AI is going to take away our human jobs. However, other practitioners think that AI has come to not to compete with human beings, but to enhance the work we do and to kind of create an enabling environment for both human and machine to, you know, work together and produce more for higher productivity. So all of these conversations are what our experts, both from academia and industry, are going to discuss today to, iron out and see how this all of these things play out. So in today's event, we after this my introduction, I'm going to hand it over to Isabel, who will now take the panelists, take the questions, and then the panelists will give their answers to the questions that she has to ask them. From there, they will discuss all of these issues, and we will be able to learn how AI has actually transformed or is actually enhancing the work of human beings in the work industry. Because the belief that AI is going to take away our job, well, these are the things that we're going to talk about today. So, after the conversation um, with the panelists, then we will have question and answer from the audience. If there are questions that audience have, they can throw it down. And then after then, can also have contributions. If anybody on the floor has anything to contribute, the person can as well contribute at that time. So we'll just give some minutes for that. Then after then, we wrap up and we call it a day. So I want to, at the same, again, welcome all of us to this conversation today and to welcome everyone to this event. So without wasting of any time, I want to introduce Isabel, who is going to take up this event as a moderator, and she will lead us and tell us how everything is going to be. So Isabel is a first-class graduate of biochemistry from Michael Opara University of Agriculture, Umudike in Nigeria, and she holds an MSc in cancer biology and therapeutics from Cardiff University in the UK. She is currently conducting a research with Cancer Research UK Scotland Institute. And in her research, she is studying how exposure to environmental pressures influences pancreatic cancer incidence and outcomes among individuals in the African diaspora. Before her scientific work, Isabel is an advocate of healthy living, youth inclusivity, gender equality, affirmative action, and girl-child empowerment. She is passionate about driving meaningful societal change in Nigeria's education and healthcare sector, and aims to build a social enterprise that supports young women pursuing STEM careers. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, wherever you're joining us from, help us to welcome on board Isabel Mwago, who is the moderator of this event. Isabel, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stanley, for that warm welcome. And once again, I want to welcome everyone on this call to this year's edition of the EduAfric, I prefer to call us EduAfric, the panel discussion in commemoration of the 2025 International Education Week. And as we hopefully know, this conversation would be around AI-driven careers and how the future of work should shape your choice of graduate study. Like Stanley earlier mentioned, AI is here to stay, and the earlier we begin to adopt newer technologies to improve productivity, the better and more productive we would be. So without wasting time, I'm just going to go straight into introducing our amazing panelists for the day. And in no particular order, I'll be starting with Brian Johannes. Brian is an accomplished public administrator with extensive experience in local government leadership. He currently serves as the Assistant Village Administrator for the village of Roselle, where he has spent over 7 years rising through roles as management analyst and administrative intern. His public sector journey builds on a strong foundation in community engagement, organizational management, and operational leadership, including power supervisory and administrative roles in the private sector. Brian holds both a Master of Public Administration and a bachelor's degree in NGO Studies from Northern Illinois University. Please help me welcome Brian to the stage. Thank you very much, Brian, for joining.
Thank you. That's very flattering. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Our second panelist is Charles Obochi. I don't think, has he joined the call, Stanley?
He hasn't joined the call. He's on his driving home, but he will
Right.
just go to the next person.
I'll just go on with the introduction. So Charles, who will be joining us soon, holds both first and second degrees in public administration with a specialization in personnel, human resource management. And he's at the final stage of his PhD, awaiting external defense. With over 20 years of professional experience, he's an accomplished human resource generalist with expertise in HR training, development, consulting, and behavioral psychology. He's a senior member of SMCI PDM, a PHRI certified professional from HRCI USA, and an associate member of CIPM. Mr. Obochi has worked across public and private sectors and currently serves as lecturer 2 at the Michael Okpara University and executive director of Global Management Resource Center. He's known for his leadership, emotional intelligence, and unwavering professional integrity. Thank you so much. Yeah, that will be for when he comes. Our third panelist, if you're as excited as I am, is Obinna Ezibekwe. Obinna is an accomplished data scientist and economist at Navy Federal Credit Union, Virginia. He has a PhD in economics and a master's in statistics from Northern Illinois University. Obinna's research focuses on applied econometrics with published work exploring economic and business questions, particularly around institutions and small businesses in Nigeria. With 4 peer-reviewed papers and over 45 citations, his expertise spans data science, international development, and innovation. He's also an avid mentor and community volunteer. Outside of academia, he enjoys soccer, chess, and spending time with family and friends. Please make welcome Mr. Obinna Ezibekwe.
Obi,
Is he there?
Obinna, you're here.
Yeah, thank you very much for
Thank
that
you.
introduction, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to the panel discussion.
We look forward to hearing
Thank
from
you.
you. Thank you. Our next panelist is Yates McLaughlin, who is a committed civil servant dedicated to strengthening local government operations and advancing collaboration across Northern Illinois. He serves as a policy analyst with the Will County Governmental League, representing more than 30 municipalities on key regional issues, including pension reform, housing policy, and council-manager relations. Yates provides data-driven policy analysis, supports intergovernmental cooperation, and helps local leaders promote effective, transparent governance. Previously, he worked in municipal administration for several Lake County communities, gaining experience in budgeting, communications, and capital planning. He holds a BA in political theory and constitutional democracy from Michigan State University and an MPA from Northern Illinois University, graduating with high honors. Outside work, Yates volunteers teaching marching bands and enjoys life with his wife, Emily, their son, Benson, and their dogs, Franklin and Daisy. Please make welcome Mr. Yates McLaughlin. Thank you, Yates, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Our next panelist is Micah Eradiri. Micah is a local government management fellow with the Borough of State College, Pennsylvania, where he works at the intersection of public administration, technology, and community development. He holds a Master of Public Administration from Northern Illinois University, where he served as president of the ICMA Students Chapter. His professional and research interests center on performance management, digital governance, and the role of artificial intelligence in shaping local government innovation. Beyond his public service career, Michael leads philanthropic and youth development initiatives through the Rose Eradiri Foundation and Teens and Youths Connect, organizations dedicated to empowering students and young professionals across Nigeria through scholarships and mentorship. Welcome, Micah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And our last panelist for the day, Prince Ozioma Emmanuel. We're honored to welcome Prince Ozioma Emmanuel, a PhD candidate in chemistry and biochemistry at Texas Tech University, where he researches cancer biology with a focus on protein-protein interactions, gene-protein coupled receptors, and TGF-beta signaling, and the cellular mechanisms that drive cancer progression. He currently serves as a graduate senator in the Student Government Association and webmaster for the Chemistry Graduate Student Organization, contributing actively to student leadership and scientific engagement. Prince holds a master's degree in environmental toxicology and a BSc in biochemistry, and has published research on pesticide residues, environmental risk assessment, and essential oil analysis. His professional background includes lecturing at the Federal University Wukari, Nigeria, industry experience and humanitarian service through challenge AIDS and malaria in Africa. Welcome, Prince.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. We look
Thanks
forward
for
to the discussion.
Thanks a lot for joining us. So, yeah, we will be delving straight into the questions. Once again, we will be discussing AI-driven careers, how the future of work should shape your choice of graduate study. I'll be starting
Please,
off with Brian.
please, for those of us in the background, I mean, if you have any question or anything, I will be in the chat box to look at your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Yeah, please use the chat box as much as you can. Brian, in what practical ways has your organization, Village of Roselle, integrated AI or data-driven systems into service delivery, and how has it changed traditional administrative roles?
Yeah. So first off, I just want to say, those introductions really blow me away every time that I meet new people and I'm surrounded by people. And this job cannot be done alone. I feel less qualified being here when you rattled off everybody's experience and what they're doing and how they're shaping education and youth and everything else. But anyways, I just wanted to say it's nice to meet the other panelists that I haven't met before, and it's just great to be around friends and new connections. So for the Village of Roselle, just to give some context, to answer your question, we're a full service municipality in the Metro Chicagoland area. So that means that we provide services that include police, fire, public works. We have a finance department, and then we have another department that handles community development and economic development and planning. So just to put into context, we have about 140 employees. That includes roughly around 35 part-time employees. And so that means that we have roughly over 100 different machines that utilize our tools, software, and just kind of run general business within the village. So just to put that into perspective of who we are, what we run, my role, I wear the IT hat, but as assistant, I manage an MSP provider that provides contractual IT services. So we're a very lean machine. So it's myself, a full-time IT manager that's contractual, and then a full-time help desk ticket engineer. So that being said, the way that we've integrated AI, the boom of AI within our current systems, or how we think about what we do and why we do it, the way that we do, we start with like low risk application use. So we're a Microsoft 365 client. So ultimately that comes with a lot of applications that can be delved into for a lot of business operational kind of efficiencies. But primarily what we've done in the last quarter is we've implemented kind of a website chatbot, right? So that uses AI language model to help answer resident questions or people that come to our website from an FAQ model. So that to me is kind of tiptoeing into AI at an incremental pace while we kind of look at policy development and training our workforce. Because I believe that AI is a tool, but it will not replace human interaction, what's needed for the public to increase its trust with their community that they serve. It should just be a tool that blankets current operations and makes things easier for staff and enhances the customer experience. So beyond just general kind of use of Microsoft applications, including Copilot, for meeting transcription, summarization of reports, very basic things that don't involve high level or high risk decision making. Those are just some of the ways that we've incorporated AI into what we do at the Village of Roselle.
Great. Yeah, I think AI just reduces the amount of time we spend doing stuff and just helps us be more efficient. So yeah, thank you very much, Brian. Obin, as an employee in the financial sector, how are AI and machine learning reshaping financial decision making and customer experience in the financial institutions?
Thank you very much, Isabella, and I'm happy to meet all the panelists. So before I start, I just wanted to highlight the tragic events that happened in Nigeria over the past couple of days. My thoughts and prayers go out to all the victims and their family and friends, during this difficult period. Yeah, so Isabella, your question, you mentioned two important concepts that I would like to kind of like define to provide a better context. So the first one you mentioned was AI. And so AI is a field of computer science that aims to produce or develop smart machines and softwares that can perform duties that typically requires human intelligence. So a popular example that all of us here can relate most likely is the chatbots, right? So these chatbots, you ask them questions and they review your questions and then give you intelligent answers, just like a human being would. So the other one is machine learning. So machine learning in turn is a subset of AI, right? So from machine learning to AI, then to computer science. So machine learning typically, what it does is just allows computers to learn from large amounts of data, right? To be able to perform tasks without any explicit instruction. For example, a decision tree model helping us to filter if an email is spam or non-spam, right? So let me get into the question. There are so many ways that financial institutions are using AI to deliver better services to their customers. And one way is in the area of fraud detection, right? So AI has, first of all, created, it has made it easier for fraud to be perpetrated in the financial sector. So scammers these days use generative AI to construct personalized and sophisticated spam emails that they use to steal identifiable information from people that they use to conduct their identity theft and crimes, right? So financial institutions are rising to the occasion by using AI systems to detect this fraud and prevent them before they even take place. An example is AI systems that are linked to phone to your phone apps, right? They monitor your transactions. And what they do is that if in the future any transaction that happens, it does not align with your past transaction, that AI system is capable of flagging that as a potential fraud, which a human engineer comes in to look at to see if that was fraud or not. And they can subsequently block that transaction from happening, thereby saving the customer probably hundreds of dollars that could have been lost in fraud. So another way that AI, more advanced AI systems are helping in the areas of fraud is some of these AI systems can monitor the way you handle your phones. For example, it can monitor your typing speed, right? So that means that even if someone fraudulent is able to procure your login details, right? Just by detecting that the typing speed has changed, the AI system can possibly prevent that person from conducting transactions, right? Which will probably now go to further review to make sure that the person using that phone at that stage, at that particular time, is the real owner of that account, right? So, like, this is one way that the financial institutions are using AI to better serve their members. Another way would be in the areas of loan underwriting. So, loan underwriting is basically the decision of whether to approve or deny a loan, right? So the AI systems are able to quickly verify a customer's income, a customer's employment history or credit history. And because of this quick method of verifying these key informations, creditors can easily, within minutes, right, approve or deny a loan. Before the adoption of AI, it normally takes probably days or weeks for someone to apply a loan and get a feedback. So AI has made this much more faster. So right now, consumers are able to get faster decisions, right, which improves service delivery for them. And the last point I would like to talk about is the use of AI in the areas of investment and stock trading, right? So one question that those of us who buy stocks have is when is the best time to buy a stock, right? And those of us in finance will tell you that the best time to buy a stock is when the price of the stock is less than the value of the stock, because we know that in the future that price will rise to meet the value, and we make profit, right? So AI systems have the ability to, let's say, make forecast of the future price of the stock and identify for you when that price is at its lowest point, right? And encourage you to buy at that time, so that hopefully in the future, the price of that stock will rise and you make some profit. So this is kind of like a more simple way AI helps in stock trading. A more advanced way is in portfolio management, right? So portfolio would be a mix of stock, bond, ETFs, mutual funds, and all of those other financial products, right? So the AI can to select a mix of these products that will help to optimize your return in the long run and also minimize risk. Some people who probably have, let's say, 20 years investment strategy, right? They can tell the AI systems. And many institutions are adopting this. For example, JP Morgan, right? And BlackRock. So they adopt some of these systems that help to manage portfolio. So you can tell the AI system to set up a portfolio that will maximize your return in 20 years, right? So for example, the AI may just decide, okay, the first 5 years, I am going to include high growth stock with high risk, right? And then maybe closer to the end of the 20 years, the AI can probably bring in more conservative products, because those conservative products are less likely to fail. They are more reliable because the AI does not want to mess up the whole return when it's about to get mature. So that's helping individuals to make better financial decisions and help financial institutions to also deliver better products and services to their customers. Thank you.
That's very impressive, especially the power of making investments, because some of us can be quite lazy about what to buy and what not to. So yeah, just knowing that there are tools out there that can do this is really encouraging. Thank you so much, Obinna. So moving on to Yates. In what practical ways have the local governments that you've worked for and are now working with integrated AI or data-driven systems into service delivery? And how has it changed traditional administrative roles?
Yeah, to echo, the previous panelists, thank you again for allowing me to be here. I really appreciate it. And this is a topic of discussion that, I think for one keeps coming up and we keep thinking about, and it's so important to talk about. So I'm really glad that we've gotten a platform to talk through what this is going to look like, because I think a lot of people, to be fair, have a lot of fear with AI, that it's going to replace staff, it's going to replace people, and we're going to turn into kind of a AI robot society or something like that. But I think what's good and kind of what Obi talked about a little bit before is that there are real life applications that can make our life a lot easier, especially in the public service realm. So I think AI isn't generally like theoretical. It's already showing up in the day-to-day work. So cities are using AI-driven chatbots, as we mentioned before, to handle a lot of the routine residential questions. So things like, how do I get a permit? Where do I drop my leaves off? Who's our elected official? Things like that. And you can find that directly on the homepage of a majority of websites that municipalities are using. And a lot of that time it's through third-party companies. I know a few off the top of my head, one being Polymorphic. So they can integrate that code into your website system. And then you can ask it anything. You can ask it, show me an agenda from 1975 or something. And if it's on the website, it's gonna direct you right to it. So those types of things, the chatbot sense, a lot of people are integrating that into their communication platforms. Um, but also behind the scenes, we're seeing municipalities use predictive models to prioritize, maybe like what roads need resurfacing first, which water mains are at the highest risk of failure, kind of the lead line replacement, and then even how to maybe optimize traffic in a certain area for certain capital or strategic plans moving forward. So I think we've moved toward interactive dashboards as well to like track budgets, especially internally, capital projects, as I mentioned, and then of course performance metrics for each department and stuff like that. So the cool thing about it is a lot of these platforms you can run scenarios like how changes in property taxes might affect this neighborhood versus another neighborhood and things like that. So I think that's really important for people to know, but also on a staff level, super important to kind of tell yeah, what I tell people a lot is instead of digging for data and finding it, now we become the interpreters. Now the public servants become the interpreters of data. So translating what that data means for residents, for budgets, for policy making. So I think in general, a lot of the municipal workers are spending more time managing vendors, writing RFPs for those AI tools. So again, I don't think AI is replacing public servants. I seriously doubt that that is ever going to happen, but it is reshaping the way that we think about work for public service. So again, I think in general, what we're doing is we're becoming data storytellers instead of data seekers. So
I think that's really key because there's just so much data out there, and it's useless if we can't interpret them. And I really think that's where the world of work is moving to, having data and having people who can interpret them to drive decision making. So yeah, thank you so much, Yates. Micah, over to you. How has the use of data analytics and AI tools improved performance management or budgetary planning in the two local governments that you've worked so far in the US?
Thank you so much. Pleased to be here with amazing people doing amazing things. And I've been blessed to work with Brian Jonas for 2 years. So he has like spoken more about Roselle. He was an amazing boss when I was with him over there. And I feel one of the key things you mentioned in your question was performance management. And what is performance management? It's making sure people are doing their jobs well and helping them improve when needed. And this is what AI is now helping us to achieve in a better way because data tools that is AI driven is helping us move from reacting to problems to planning ahead, right? Like I think Yates mentioned that we're like interpreting the data now. It's like data now, but we have to like tell stories out of the data that comes out of it. I'll give an example based on where I'm working at the moment, which is the State College Borough in Pennsylvania. Before I came, they had a system in place that was for short-term rentals. So where I am, I currently handle like short-term rentals in the borough. But we got an AI tool called Rentalscape. So before now, the borough actually thought that we have just 151 people who do short-term rentals. So in Nigeria, I feel the only way people relate to what I'm saying is Airbnb. We all know what Airbnb is. But here, there's a system in place whereby people have to pay like a fee before they're allowed to rent, right? So before we acquired Rentalscape as an AI tool to help us know the amount of people in the borough who are doing short-term rentals. Guess what AI picked up? AI picked up that instead of the 151 people we think are doing short-term rentals, we have over 351 people. So AI shows that there are 200 people within the borough who just rent out their places without paying the municipality or the borough what is due to them in terms of fees. So without AI, we wouldn't have known that that was a thing. So this tool pinpointed people. It scoured Airbnb platforms. I think what's the other one called? Is it VMBO? Um, it showed people were actually, should I use the word gaming the system? And without that AI tool, we wouldn't have known that that was a thing. So what this will help us do is for enforcement, we can go to these people and say, we know you're using your place for short-term rentals. You have to pay what is due, right? So that is what AI is going to be like in form of like a game changer. And instead of relying on intuition alone, like, oh, we have just 150 people, we now use real numbers to prioritize projects and measure progress based on what AI is helping us decipher. So it's I feel the next question I will still speak more on how this can be better, but AI is really like a game changer. And I will just drop one, should I use the word quote that I wrote down here? I said, AI turned our guesswork into clear, smart decisions. So before we were guessing, oh, we have just 150 people. But now AI is showing us clear. You have more than 150, and it's now helping us make smart decisions based on the information it's giving us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's really key. I think I'm looking forward to the second question and hopefully where you get to expand on that. But thank you so much.
Cool.
I think Mr. Charles has just joined in the call. Mr. Charles, do you want to say hello?
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Hi. Hello. So
How
good
are
to
you
have
doing?
you here. Yeah, we're doing all
Thank
right.
you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so.
joining.
All right.
I'm going to get right into your question, if that's all right.
All right.
Okay. So you've worked across public and private sectors and in different countries across the African continent. How has AI changed human resource management globally?
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for this organization and all you have been doing. I'm just joining now for some obvious reasons over here. Please just pardon my lateness. I discovered before I delve into your question that having moved from some parts of Africa, starting from Nigeria to Middle East, particularly UAE, and then to the Asia, particularly Malaysia, I have discovered that what is embedding AI of today is the technology that is available in these countries or in this, in all these parts of the world. And as a Nigerian and an African, I know that we are quite lagging behind when it comes to technology. So when we suddenly entered the fourth industrial revolution age, when we suddenly stumbled into AI as we have today, I can say that some parts of Africa were not prepared in terms of technology to be able to utilize AI completely. Unlike some parts of Middle East, like Dubai, like I talked about, particularly, you discover that they have been in the forefront of applying technology, even in their normal activities, not even particularly about human resource management. But permit me to say that globally, and even when I say globally, Africa is inclusive, Asia is inclusive, Middle East is inclusive. We cannot underestimate the impact of artificial intelligence in managing human resources. Of course, like I said, that impact, is as a result of the quality and the level of technological advancement that we can see across these parts of the world. And so, AI, just like the last speaker said, has become the new norm, has become the basis for practice across all sectors, not only in human resource management. But I can tell you that in human resource management, we are beginning in this part of the world to implement and to use the assistance of AI in trying to do our work. Okay, human resource management actually starts with workforce planning, or what we can call human resource planning. That will transcend into recruitment and selection. that will begin to go into onboarding of the people you have selected, and then it will move on in that way, in placing them in performance management, and then in
So
finally
number of
making
adopted student teachers climbed to 315, says CAN. In Niger
Hello?
school.
Can other participants mute their
There's an
mics,
interference.
please? Yeah, sorry about that, Charles. Can other participants mute their mics, please? Thank you very much.
All right. I was saying that the entire gamut of human resource management starts with human resource planning. It transcends to recruitment, selection, and then on and on to onboarding, to placement, to performance management, and finally to the exit of the employee that you have just engaged. And in Africa, in Asia, in Middle East that I have walked around, I've discovered that private sector organizations are leading the way, just like every other person can agree with me. But then we are beginning to appreciate at the level of the public sector and learning again from the private sector. I can share an example with you. Very recently, I was doing a research with a government organization in Nigeria, particularly the Federal Inland Revenue Service. They are in charge of the revenue for the federation. And I was conducting a research on knowing how they have been employing electronic human resource management system in carrying out their work. It will amaze you to know that FIRS, particularly that stands as a public sector organization in Nigeria, has gone far, because there are so many personalized services that the employees there are engaging in. I interacted with them. I got information. I got data. I did a whole lot of things with them, and I discovered that the human resource department in that organization today, they have come up to the strategic position of that organization, to the extent that many jobs, many administrative issues that has to do with human resource management have now been automated. And the automation, is being assisted today by the impact of artificial intelligence. It becomes easy for them, that particular organization and some other public organization, to actually carry on their services, without paperless, and then becoming more accurate than what they used to be before. Data becomes easy to harness. Tracing and tracking people becomes easy to gain. Also trying to find out the movement of the staff, the performance of the staff. So many things have now been automated as a result of the impact of artificial intelligence that we are witnessing within the organization. I can tell you also that across the board, the issue of talent acquisition is a good aspect that AI has impacted across the board, both in public and the private sector. Like I say, in private sector, they have gained upper advantage more than the public sector. But some of us are focusing more on the public sector because we discovered that in Africa, in Asia, in Middle East, public sector still command. They have upper hand in the economy of this continents. And then because of that, there is every need for us who are practitioners to focus on the public sector, to see how they can learn fast and how they can employ the development in technology, which I have told you before is being championed currently today. We see it. The AI is now the current offshoot of what technology can do and can help us to do. So in talent acquisition, AI has impacted very significantly, in sourcing for employees, in screening them. There is automated screening now in many organizations across the board. In predicting assessment, AI has also helped us to predict assessment and to make our hiring, processes faster, hiring processes more objective. And then it becomes more scalable because organization can now share experiences. And then one organization can also say, this is what I did here, this is what you can do. And then you discover that that has helped actually. Because in these continents, Africa, Asia, Middle East, we have a large youth population. And when you call for when you call for application from unemployed people, you discover that you are amazed the number of people that will be applying for a particular job. So if AI is not being used, it becomes difficult for the human resource practitioners to be able to select the best people. But AI has helped tremendously in doing that. AI has also improved workforce management, through data-driven insight. Today in many organizations that I have also interacted with, you discover that it becomes easier to predict the attrition rate in various organizations. It becomes easier to identify the gaps that we can see in terms of skill. And then it becomes easy to tailor learning, because people can easily now even lead themselves in learning because of AI. I can tell you that some of us who are particularly in the business of training and development, AI has assisted us so tremendously. Writing proposals these days, trying to harness our training packages. These things have become so easy. Once you have idea of what you want, AI will definitely assist you and make you to have it faster, and then have it also more accurate than before. And so AI has also, like I said before, enhanced employee experience, because various organizations across these continents are beginning to now implement and put in place personalized HR services, that are helping individual employees to be able to take charge of whatever they are doing technologically and through AI, and be able to now churn out, a result that will be amazing across the organizations. So I can tell you that AI has shifted HR in Africa. AI has shifted AI in Asia, in Middle East, to the extent that the traditional and the transactional functions of human resource management that we used to know here before is no longer in vogue. Now we are becoming, more strategic. We are becoming intelligence driven in terms of the management of the human resources across many public sector organizations in Africa, in Middle East, and also in Asia. So I want to say that AI has actually changed the game for human resource management across the board. Though technologically, like Africa, for instance, we are still lagging behind, but I tell you that the little, whatever we have, the level of technology we have is also assisting us to be able to engage and to use the services of AI, and to, allow AI to, help us achieve a more accurate and faster processes in managing the human resources. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charles. That was quite a lot to unpack. Thank you. Going over to Prince. Based on your experience leading EduAfrique's International Essay Competition scholarship application on harnessing AI to solve Africa's development challenges, do you think that scholars who participated in this exercise are conversant with modern facilities? How can you rate their knowledge of AI generally?
Are you sure Prince is here? I'm trying to.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I got logged out from my system, so I just had to whatever to use the phone to join back.
That's all right. Okay, I'm just going to take your question again. Based on your experience leading EduAfrique's International Essay Competition scholarship application on harnessing AI to solve Africa's development challenges, do you think that scholars who participated in this exercise are conversant with modern facilities? How can you rate their knowledge of AI generally?
Thank you very much for that question, and it's been wonderful listening to all panelists and learn from their expertise also. And I'll just go straight because I'm a scientist. We don't really talk so much. Everyone has been talking things, has been people that into public administration, they like explaining things, make it very elaborate. So yeah, getting back to the question about the last essay competition we had, and the whether people kind of are receptive about it and how to rate the applicants. I can tell you that everyone that rated those applications could tell you that yes, in as much as AI is not widely accepted in Africa, like people have not really come to the realization that yes, it has come to stay. they still believe that we still have to do it the manual way we did it before. But I can tell you that the students that applied for this competition, to a great extent, I would say that 70 to 80% of them are kind of very close to using AI tools. And you could see that from how clear their application materials were. Like, it was very difficult for us to even assess the candidates based on how good they were. Like, it was a very strong and tight decision. So, and that could tell you that, yeah, these guys are actually doing well. They're kind of being receptive to the now what's it called, to the now experience and to the now level of doing things. And I can also tell out, in as much as it's very difficult to assess very good AI tools in terms of finances, in terms of availability, based on where they are, most of them were still able to make it to do with what they have. And in a scale of 1 to 10, I will tell you that yes, in a level of 8 being the highest, like 10 being the highest, 8% of them were able to make use of AI tools efficiently and tailor down the application, and which gave us a very strong task to be able to decide the winners of that essay competition. So yeah, I'll give it to them. They're doing well, and there's still room for development. And I hope that most of them are listening to this conversation today, and they will take one or two things away from it to build up on what they already have while developing themselves better. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prince. I do agree with you that it was a nightmare having to select candidates because it looked like everyone knew what they were doing. But yeah, thank you so much. Back to you, Brian. From your experience at Village of Roselle, what competencies or graduate level training would help future public administrators thrive in an AI-enabled local government environment?
Yeah, it's a great question because I strongly believe in the educational system that gave me the opportunity to do what I do now. And even looking back, I mean, I graduated in 2020. We had some adjunct professors that were practitioners in the IT space. We had core competency level graduate courses that studied HR kind of management, some legal compliance, policy development, budgeting, and some data courses surrounding data literacy and interpretation. But I think that all of those core competencies that I took could have had an underlining, or should kind of going forward have an underlining approach to holistically discussing AI implementation and use within government systems. Because it's here to stay, because it's going to touch everything that we do more and more incrementally. I think for younger students that are considering joining this field, going into graduate level studies, I think first and foremost, we should focus on just AI literacy, like Yates mentioned and other people have mentioned, just understanding what AI is and what it isn't. The differences in the different layers of AI. So whatever organization that they get employed with or intern with or choose to run on, they have at least basic knowledge. And then the data interpretation. I think a lot of our data related courses can be enhanced with the use of AI and leveraging the power of data, right? And then I think just from an ethical perspective, AI has to be used ethically. Some people have talked about regulatory compliance on the federal or state or local level. That's very complicated. And like Yates mentioned, it can be easy to be fearful of those things. So I think it's important for students that are getting into this career to be change makers and be powered with that education. So when they transition themselves into the workforce, they have a general understanding of what these things can do, what they shouldn't be used for, and how they can be used correctly and ethically across the board. And then I would say vendor management skills. So for my position, dealing with just numerous amounts of IT vendors that all have different AI implications within their software, it is extremely challenging. None of us are code writers in what we do on the administration level, but we have to be at least somewhat knowledgeable of how these systems work and how they embed AI algorithms within their models and how we can vet those models safely. Because I think that there's a lot of workforce development that we talk about on this panel, but the other side, the other part of my hat is cybersecurity and understanding the different contracts that you may get in bed with different vendors and how to vet that, where your data is stored, how it's being used, and honestly, how to protect yourselves from threat actors that are going to use the same systems, ultimately more enhanced than what government has already procured or implemented, to protect the most, I would say, secure and private information from both the public side of resident data that we house as well as employee information. So.
Thank you, Brian. I really think that AI literacy should be advocated for heavily, just so people understand what AI is and what it isn't. So yeah, thank you. Obina, data analytics is a vital skill that most modern organizations require from potential workers, which also touches on what Brian had said. What specific technical and analytical skills do you think graduate students should focus on if they want to enter data-driven roles in any industry?
Yeah, thank you, Isabel, for that question. So I'll just keep my response to under 3-4 minutes so we can get through all of this and dismiss in like 2 hours. Yeah, so I want to start with the technical skills. So the first one would be taking some math and statistics classes to provide a foundational background for going into data-driven fields. So mathematics will expose you to linear algebra, which explains most of the methods and techniques we use in machine learning and data science, right? And then statistics will also teach you about techniques such as decision trees, neural networks, and more advanced machine learning methods we use for prediction and classification. So it's always important to start from the basics, right? And you don't need to be a math major to have this foundational knowledge. You can take classes online on platforms such as DataCamp, Coursera, and so on. They have courses like statistics for AI or mathematics for machine learning. So those courses are prepared for the general population, people who may not have a math undergraduate degree to be able to key into the AI revolution. So having built your foundation on math and start classes, the next thing is to improve your programming proficiency, right? So Python is the industry leader in terms of working with machine learning and AI. So we use Python to build complex machine learning algorithms, such as the ones I mentioned, like neural networks, decision trees, random forest, and so on. So we use these models to make important predictions, forecasts, and classifications, right? Another programming language you may want to look into is R. So R is more is used more in the social science fields for statistical analysis, right? And apart from Python and R, another one I would recommend is SQL. Some people call it SQL. So we use SQL to manage databases, especially relational databases, right? So in this day and age, companies host their data on the cloud, and those data are not in a particular location. So we, like a company may have employee data in one location, then have product data in another location. So SQL helps us to connect this data together, manage them to produce a more cohesive result. So after building your proficiency in programming languages, like I've mentioned, another area that is becoming an important requirement for data scientists today is cloud platforms, right? Like I said, we are in an era of digital transformation. So companies are digitalizing everything. So they have their data in the cloud, and these cloud platforms help us to manage those data. The popular one that many of you will probably be aware of is the Amazon Web Services. So this helps us to manage data in the cloud and make sure that they are available for use, right? So let me get to the analytical part, which I believe is even more important, right? So I always tell younger people in the field that the technical skills, right, being able to use different programming languages will get you the interviews, right? But what gets you the job is the analytical skills, and I call them the problem-solving skills, right? And this is basically the ability to translate vague business questions into questions that you can solve using data and statistics. For example, your manager at work may ask you or may tell you that we have noticed that online sales are low, right? And we are trying to see ways we can improve it. So this is a very broad and vague business question that most businesses will probably have. So the onus is on you as the data scientist to first of all get the nitty-gritty of this question, translate it from a vague business problem to a question that you can answer using data and statistics, and then make recommendations that can improve business processes. So these are the core skills that I would recommend for someone who is looking to go into data-driven jobs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obina. So that's R, Python, SQL. Yeah, I'm already trying to learn R. Hopefully, I see what I can make out of that. But thank you. Yates, over to you. What kind of graduate education or research preparation best equips young professionals to analyze data and translate it into actionable policy recommendations?
Yeah, I love this question. I really do. And I think the reason why is because even if you take a break before your undergrad and then you go to graduate degree or something like that, I'm sure all of us in the field can tell you we're not going to be writing research papers on our 9 to 5, right? A lot of what we do deals with providing like, what do you recommend? What do the elected officials want to hear from the staff that are doing the day-to-day about this kind of stuff? And so I think it's so important I always try to tell students to look for programs that teach like three main things for you: methods, context, and communication. And I think when you think about that on like the methods side, you want to have a solid foundation in my eyes, especially if you're going into local government or anything that you're going to provide policy recommendations to a superior or an elected body or something like that. You want to have a solid foundation in budget management. What does it cost? Why? Policy development. So what does it mean? What are the specs? What are the parameters? And then obviously some statistics and an ability to show data into words, if that makes sense. So I guess, partially Stanley and I have had many moments of digging into an Excel sheet, for hours and hours and hours, going through data and things like that. And I think that's a really great skill to use, knowing how to use, even Excel or Google Sheets or something like that, is really important, especially if you're doing some sort of financial management, and then obviously showing what the repercussions of doing said policy recommendation is. So I think with that, data visualization and GIS are incredibly valuable too, because so many public problems are spatial. So many public problems are, what's out and about in the community, not what if, very rarely I feel like they're what if we try this, and then we do it. Most of the time it's how do we solve for this problem, or, how do we change this to make it better. So um, again, I talked a little bit about context, which I think is equally important. You're going to need to know how, obviously, governments operate, public finance, intergovernmental relations, stakeholders, all that. So you know what's actually feasible, who to contact, who to understand, who to kind of go to when you've got questions. Because one of the things, it made me think about it a little bit with, I think it was Brian's response previously, but one of my favorite lines about public service and local government in general right now is we are the jack of all trades, master of none. And what I mean by that is we are not probably the biggest people who can do crazy formulas with math, or we're not the elected officials who can talk to everybody and make deals done and get things done. We're not a public works official. I can't fix a water main, things like that. But we know where to plug things into, and we're gonna find the right answer. And so I think for your graduate level, you're gonna need to know I'm a big analogy guy, so I'll make another one for you. You're going to need to know how to build or to acquire tools for your tool belt. And the reason I say that is because all of us, in essence, to build a career, to me, that's building your house, building one's house. And to build a good career, to build a stable career, to build a career that you feel accomplished with and that you can really get into, that you love, is getting the tools to do so. And so I think providing and adding tools to your tool belt is super, super important. And it starts down when you're in education, doing your undergrad, doing your grad degree. So I think in short, you need the technical tools, but again, you also need the ability to translate analysis into action. All these numbers look great, but what does this mean? And finding a program and finding skills to acquire before and during is super important because there's always going to be somebody that is going to ask, well, why are we doing this? To solve X, Y, and Z, right? And so I think that's super important for me and something that I've thought about is what's the virtue with this and how can we make this better? And it all comes down to developing those skills, context, method, and communication.
Thank you. That's nicely put. Charles, what new HR competences should graduate students develop to become strategic partners in organizations integrating AI?
All right, thank you so much. Driving from the last three speakers, especially Obi, the HR graduate students, I may not expect them to become data scientists like Obi was talking about. They may not be able to go down deep like data scientists, but of course, there are competencies that are currently emerging. From your question, you said to become strategic partners. That means those of us who are graduate students, by the time we come out, we are no longer going back to the organizations to do transactional activities. We are going to become strategic. And if we are going to become strategic, it means we are going to do what the current people may not be doing. That means we need to acquire new competencies. And one of that competence is what I can say, develop a liking, a love for technology. And that will engender technological fluency or technical intelligence on the student. Now, if you don't have fluency technologically, you will not be able to become strategic. Yes, they may not be data scientists, like I said, but they need to have understanding on how AI systems work. Because AI has systems and there is a way AI systems work. And they should also be able to know what data they need, especially in carrying out their functions, like recruiting, like performance management, like training, like workforce planning. There are AI tools that they need to use and they need to evaluate. So they need to know how to ask the right questions. And it is only when they have fluency technologically that that can be done. Again, Obi also talked about analytics, but particularly for HR students, the competency that I expect from them is to have people analytics competencies. There can be other kinds of analytics, but we are talking of people analytics, right? Now, don't forget that the human resources are not machines. Okay, so even though they are making use of AI, they are still human beings. And so there is people analytics competency that we expect from the graduate students, because issues that are related to culture, issues that are related to ethics, issues that are related to organizational goals will play out in trying to do their jobs. And some of these issues are not just what machine will give you 100%. It is what also you have to use intuition. It's also what you have to, the environment will also condition. And it is the duty of the graduate students who will become, the champions and the strategic partners to be able to have that competency. And then we also have that competency that has to do with ethical stewardship. I call it ethical stewardship because the HR man in any organization, stands between the management and, the workers. And so it's a bridge. And he develop the standard that will help each and every of the workforce to be able to comply with the goals of the organization, with the culture of the organization, with the ethics of the organization, ethical stewardship skill, and human-centered practices, human-centered policies that will cause them to thrive in that organization. I also expect them to become change leaders. It's a competency. They can develop competency in change leadership because AI, like we say today, has come to stay. It has brought about a change in the way organizations now carry out their functions. And so HR, who actually stands in between, should be able to lead that change, should be able to explain to the rest of the employees, this is where we are, this is what is happening, because the person has that competency. There is a competency in that because AI is not just about technological shift. It's also about behavioral shift. It's also about cultural shift. And so it is the HR graduate that will be able to become strategic because the person has gotten those competencies. And then we also want them to have a shift in their mindset, and then to also have business acumen. These are competencies that I think that HR, graduating students or graduate students that are in HR should have. They should have a strategic mindset, because we discovered that in some public organizations and even private organizations, those in HR sometimes are being looked upon as people who are witch hunting the staff of that organization. But it is not supposed to be so. They're only doing that because most of them, they lack knowledge. They don't use technology. They are not strategic. And because of that, people look at them as if they are witch hunting others. But when they come up to the level of becoming strategic by also having strategic mindset and business acumen, they will now be able to be placed at a pedestal that will enable them to also compete and to contribute even to the growth and the development of that organization. So some of these things are the competencies that I think that graduating students or graduate students in HR should acquire in order to become strategic.
Thank you very much, Charles, for that very detailed response. Micah, many graduate students pursue MPA or MPP degrees. What additional analytical or technical skills should they consider developing to stay competitive and relevant in the job market?
Thank you so much for that question. And I'm sorry for those on the call, even if Isabel says MPA, MPP, I feel it can be generalized because administration is everywhere, in the tech sector, in the health sector, in government, everywhere. And for this, I feel data visualization plays a very key role in anything we do, because if you have the data and you don't know how to visualize it for the people to see, it becomes hard to interpret. And it's one of those key things that people should try as much as possible to learn. Maybe using like Power BI, also Excel modeling, trying as much as possible to be able to use infographics and to be able to interpret them, because it's one thing to visualize the data. It's another thing to try as much as possible to interpret the data. And another key thing is GIS mapping. I think GIS is Geographic Information System. I know in Nigeria, I think it's been used, but it's not used the way we want it to be used. But here in the US, in public sectors, especially like planners, they use GIS as a key tool for zoning work and for planning as well. And it's one of those key things that if you want to be someone in the industry, it's one of those skills that will make you stand out. And well, in all these things, we can talk about data visualization, we can talk about Excel modeling, we can talk about coding, maybe Python, R, and all those things. But one of the key skills that people should learn is communication skills, writing skills. How do I communicate what I have to the people? There are many people who cannot translate data into decisions that leaders and residents can understand. I think Yates says something that I will point to. For practitioners in the industry, especially local government, we basically don't have time for research. It's just some of us who feel like we can try as much as possible to still do research. But one of the key things that council expects from us, or the public expects from us, is an easy to understand communique, an easy to understand memo. You know, if you're writing like a policy paper, if it is in academia, someone can tell you 15 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages. The council member, the village manager, or the mayor doesn't have time to read a 15-page document or a 30-page document. He wants to see a one-page summary if possible. Worst case scenario, maybe 2 pages, right? And it's one of those things whereby you can do all the research you want to do, but you have to try as much as possible to interpret it in a way whereby if they say, give me a 1-sentence response, you can give it to them. So it's one of those key things. And I'll just point out the skills I feel people trying to get into any industry should have. Communication skills, what does this entail? It entails talking clearly and listening well so people will understand you. If people don't understand you, you're not communicating. So you have to try as much as possible to do that. Another key thing is teamwork. Working nicely with others to get things done together. In this organization or in local government, I'm speaking from what I've learned this 2-3 years, it's working together. You can't do things by yourself. You need help. And that's why we have departments, and there's not just one person in every department. There are people working together to achieve goals. Then empathy, understanding how someone else feels and responding kindly. I'm sorry to put Brian on the spot here, but Brian, there was something he did a few months ago while I was working with him. There was an angry resident who came into the municipal building screaming, shouting, and that was when I saw empathy skills come into play. Empathy, conflict resolution skills, and communication skills. Brian was able to take someone who was shouting at the top of his voice. He took him into his office, and after, let's say, a 30 minutes, 45 minutes conversation, the man came out of the office level-headed and as if nothing happened 40 minutes ago. And as leaders or as people who are in the industry, you can't, if someone is shouting at you, you can't respond the way the person is responding. You have to try as much as possible to be the calm person and try to come up with like a solution. I mentioned conflict resolution, solving people's problems calmly when people disagree. It's one of those skills people should have. Then the final one is leadership. You can't do what we do without like trying to be like a leader. You have to help other people stay organized, motivated, and focused. So apart from all the data visualization skills, the GIS mapping skills, the coding skills, if you don't relate with people, you're already losing it. And I will end with this. Learn the tech, but master the people skills. That's your winning combo to make it in public service or private service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Micah. I think that should be engraved. Learn the Turk, but master the people. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Prince, how can African students who are pursuing graduate studies abroad strategically focus their research and coursework on areas where AI can address local development gaps?
Thank you very much for that question. And one thing you just mentioned, like I will start from the last part of the question. We talk about the development gaps, right? So one thing is to know development gaps, and then now the question is, how do we get to know development gaps? Because you can't just jump out of the blue and know what development gaps are all about, because one, there must be some sort of research. that will guide you into knowing, because what you might think or see as a development gap might not actually be a development gap, but maybe just maybe like your lack of information or lack of exposure to the already existing solutions to those things you are calling development gaps. So, and that now comes down to graduate students coming abroad to do their programs, because one thing I've noticed over time is that people, when they come in here, they feel like, oh, we can still do the same way we do in Africa. You know how we do research in Africa, and nobody cares. You just want to do it the way, like, let's just get it going. Recently, someone asked me one of the days, oh, please, can you help me fill a survey? It's for my thesis. I was like, what's the survey all about? What are the criteria for me to fill the survey? Like, oh, you must have visited the US health system for about maybe like in the last 3 months. I'm like, oh, I've not visited, so I can't give you an honest review. Like, no, just do it for me. I said, no, I can't do that, because but this person understands what research ethics is. But the person also wanted to just get away with what he or she wanted to, because he just wanted to get a degree. So, and this now boils down to us having, like, churning out the same products that we are trying to avoid back in Africa. So, and the best way for me, and then another scenario is when you see people trying to write their thesis or maybe writing literature review, and then they're just going by doing it the traditional way we do it before. Like, there's no way you can review hundreds of articles just by yourself alone without employing the AI tools that are already there to help you make it easier for you, because doing it that way can never be efficient. And not just being efficient, you cannot get the actual gaps you're looking for. But recently, I noticed that when you deploy AI tools to help you in your literature search and your research gap, you find out that what you were looking at before to be a research gap was not really a research gap, probably something that was just blurred to your own vision based on your level of exposure and based on the length with which you have read. And talking about how they can focus their research and coursework into AI-driven focus and all of those things. Now, one thing is sure, most times you cannot decide, like you cannot generally decide kind of research you do when you're doing a graduate program, because one, you work in line with the scope of the lab you're working with. So, but then now it's now reasonable for you as a person, when working in line with the scope of research or the lab you're working with, how do I now streamline it to what will benefit me locally? Because we always have to think about home, because we're coming from somewhere and we want to get that place to develop, to become better, and to become like where we are today. The only way we can do that is channeling our thoughts towards ways we can develop that area. And that comes into the point of how do we deploy AI? Now I'm into cancer research. What am I doing? How do I make use of AI to make my work easier? And then what cancer is prevalent in Nigeria, for instance? Now, how do I train my mind or my psychology to be able to contribute and then find a gap in that area of research, because that's where my thought and target is. Now, this is where the numerous AI tools we have can help us. And then as a person, you can always recommend to your advisor, oh, how about if we try this? How about if we try this? Because your advisor at some point in your PhD level, I don't know for those doing PhD, your advisor at some point expects you to bring up the idea and then propose a solution to that idea. Maybe at your first year of PhD, your first and second year, he might be kind of trying to guide you, help you. But then once you have crossed the level of your second year PhD, he now expects you to come up with those thoughts you can think about that will be able to develop or maybe resolve some issues. And this is where you now have to think of, okay, what are the gaps locally that I want to bridge? How do I infuse it into my research and make impact and contribute to knowledge that is lacking back there, right? So that is what I'm talking about, that we have to utilize literature search. We have to deploy AI in terms of our literature search and in terms of the gap we are looking for. Don't just think that you can think of the gap based on, some of us left Nigeria and other African countries 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and things must have changed from when we left it. So now, how do you now know the trend of what's going on in terms of research if you don't utilize the tools that are available to you here to be able to understand the already existing gaps that you want to fill? So in general, like in summary, what I'm saying is, while studying your research papers, try to deploy AI tools that could help you be more efficient, be more direct in studying your research papers. And then when talking about the gap, please try to see if these gaps, like what are the road plans, what are the maps, what are the plans to be able to mitigate these gaps? Because you can't have a research gap that you want to solve that as a person you cannot resolve that gap even in 50 years to come. You have to start, okay, how do I start? Like, what gap can I think of that is immediate or that is achievable? Because we have some gaps locally that even as a person cannot be achieved individually, except if we come as a team to achieve them. And before you come to the point of building that team, start from the one that is solvable, that is achievable by your own personal research and involvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obin Prince. Sorry about that. So I'm looking at the time and we've got less than 30 minutes to be on this call and we've only just gone halfway. So can I please ask our esteemed panelists to, for the next session, try and keep their answers to 3 minutes max? I know we've got a lot of things to talk about, but just so we can go through the questions and hopefully take questions from participants, can we keep our responses to just under 3 minutes? Thank you very much. Brian, how do you balance the use of technology with the need for personal human interaction, especially since many residents still prefer direct contact with your employees?
Yep, this is a great question. I'm very passionate about this. I'm going to read something that I wrote down that summarizes kind of my thoughts with the Village of Roselle and how we use technology on a broad sense, and I'll get into very specific details and limit it to 3 minutes for you. So we use technology as a tool to improve efficiency in the customer experience. The goal is it gives staff a faster, more accurate information so they can engage more meaningfully with residents. Technology doesn't replace human interaction. It should complement it by strengthening service delivery and building public trust. So I think there's 2 phases of that, and I'll get this done really quick. So I'll just go around the horn with our department. So we just implemented new building permitting, zoning, code enforcement, and licensing software within the village, okay? So that doesn't mean that the quantity of work has decreased for the people that actually do the day-to-day. In fact, it just complements and strengthens their ability to process permits faster with more accurate information that's supplied by the public. It gives the public a more transparent approach to processing permits or submitting code enforcement complaints or working through a zoning process that can be very complicated. And it allows staff to internally collaborate better and communicate on a tracked kind of system that timestamps internal communications through a digital platform with both the public and internal staff members involved in those workflows. For police, we have police drones that get deployed to certain calls for service, but that doesn't replace officers on the street that are beat cops going and providing that type of protective service to the public. For fire, we have EMS kind of coordination technology that alerts oncoming traffic and brings more awareness into incidents that may block an intersection to protect our public safety officials, but also provide the public with transparency regarding our EMS and fire-related response times. For public works, we're implementing fleet software next year that doesn't replace the work that mechanics do. In fact, gives them more time turning wrenches and fixing vehicles and servicing village equipment, but allows more departments to have transparency on where their work orders are at. And allows them to order parts more efficiently so that they can continue to do the work that they're certified to do. And then from a finance perspective, we're looking at implementing new technology with our telephone system that will help people with utility billing that are dealing with overages on water bills. So we are deploying smart meters throughout the village, gives residents a better look into the water consumption that they use on a daily basis. And then we're looking to automate the process that we typically do, which in my opinion is a white glove service, where we call residents that have a higher than normal bill, walk them through some kind of troubleshooting issues that they can do themselves to maybe reduce the consumption that's currently going on. But again, I don't think that replaces the people that come in and want to pay a bill and talk to Stephanie at the front counter and talk about their day. I think it more so enhances that experience, put more data and power into the residents' hands, while also allowing staff to focus on more kind of complex problem-solving skills and ultimately advancing their professional development within the organization. So hopefully I did a good job.
Yes, you did. I think I want to leave in Roselle, just listening to all you've said. Yeah. Obi, now, how can professionals from non-technical disciplines like public administration or social sciences leverage AI and data analytics training to become valuable assets in today's workforce?
Yeah, thank you, Isabel, for that great question. So far, I have been asked like 3 questions, and I think this is the best, simply because I strongly believe that everyone has a role to play in this AI economy, right? So first of all, who is a social scientist? A social scientist is someone who applies the scientific method to study societies and how individuals and institutions in that society interact with each other, right? So a social scientist who wants to play a key role in this era of AI needs to have some foundational knowledge of AI, right? And he can serve as the bridge between technical expertise and the societal impact of AI, because we know that AI has an impact on the society and individuals and organizations and so on and so forth. Those of us in economics are already doing important research, trying to study how AI affects productivity, how AI affects job growth, and all of that kind of thing, right? So let me quickly go over some of the key areas that social scientists can play a key role in this AI economy. So the first point I want to highlight is the social scientists can help to translate all of our complex machine learning results into more actionable and targeted policy recommendations. Let's say, for instance, a machine learning engineer develops an algorithm that can predict which village, right, is the least likely to adopt, let's say, a new agricultural technology, right? Now, what a social scientist can do is to go into the villages and try to ask some important questions. So he can ask, is this village not adopting this technology because the farmers are less educated? Or do we have some cultural barriers that are preventing them from adopting such technology? So by asking some of these questions that gets to the heart of human behavior, the social scientist is able to translate some of those results into more targeted policy recommendations. For example, if he finds that the farmers in that village are not as educated, so we know that probably we should try to educate them on how to use technology, right? Or maybe if it is a problem of cultural barrier, we can try to find a way to reconcile the technology with their existing culture, right? So this is one way that social scientists can play an important role. Another way is that they can help us to evaluate AI systems for societal bias. So what do I mean by this? I want to link this to my initial answer on how AI systems can help us to with loan underwriting, like loan approval or loan denial. So let's say that in a society, right, in the past, that women are typically denied loans, right? And then let's say at some point that practice was ended. So men and women have equal access to loans. But then we develop an AI system, right, that determines if someone gets a loan or not. Remember that this AI system is built on historical data, which in this case is already biased because the historical data is that women are automatically denied a loan just because they are women, right? So if we build an AI system on this biased practice, what it means is that even though the practice has been ended in practice, right? If someone applies for a loan, AI, the way it works is that it matches historical data, right? If it sees a woman, kind of like ask yourself, okay, in the past, what is the outcome that women typically get? And in this case, it is denial. So the AI will still deny a woman, even though the practice has ended, right? So these are the kind of questions that social scientists can help us to answer and also potentially prefer solutions to address this. Typically, machine learning engineers don't think about the bias in the data already, but they are very good with building very advanced models that can perform different kinds of duties. So social scientists with their knowledge of societies and human relationships can get to that part of the whole process and help us to make sure that our AI systems are fair and more equitable. So the last point I want to talk about with regards to how social scientists can play a role is that they can help organizations, right, to develop frameworks that can help them to um, comply with AI regulations. So over the past 3 years, the United States and other countries have been passing laws, some of them executive orders, to guide the use of AI. As we know, AI is evolving every day. What you know today, tomorrow is no longer the latest AI technology, right? So because of this, governments across the globe are putting up regulations to guide how companies can use AI. An example of it is even the one I mentioned. Should we rely on AI completely to decide if someone gets a loan? How fair is that system going to be, right? So social scientists, especially in this case, maybe attorneys, right? They can help organizations to build a compliance framework that can help them to comply with all those regulations and make sure that their organizations do not go contrary to existing rules and regulations. Yeah, so these are some of the roles I think social scientists can play. And like I said initially, everyone has a role to play. You don't have to be a tech guru. You don't have to be a math expert or anything like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that response. Yates, how can future policy analysts ensure that AI-based policy tools do not reinforce bias or inequities in public decision making? I think this ties in with the last question Obina just answered.
Yeah, so really good question. I think in general, what it makes me think of is that responsibility falls very heavily on the current and next generation of analysts because the more and more that organizations are using AI models, or even individually you're using AI models to assist you at work, it's going to be vastly more important for you to recognize that. So I would say the first step is definitely interrogating the data. And by interrogating, I mean um, making sure you're getting exactly what you want. Especially for a lot of these chatbots and AI models, you're only going to get what you put into it, right? And so I think if the data reflects past discrimination, the model will too, right? Or certain biases, the model is going to do that. And so I think a lot of data sets maybe undercount your community specifically or your organization specifically, which can again undercount marginalized communities, informal workers, or even just like rural areas, right? If I were to ask, a chatbot to come up with a walkability plan for my community right now, um, but I didn't give it the fact that we have a very large Hispanic population. We have we're very rural compared to maybe different Chicago suburbs. You're going to get a vastly different plan than maybe what's right for your community. And so I think to kind of couple that, disaggregate everything. Don't just look at averages, look at the distribution across race, gender, income, geography. Again, I think you'll often see disparities hiding in the details. For example, I recently just did a giant pension presentation for all of our 33 member communities at Will County. For tier two pensions for public safety officials. And if I wasn't looking at some of our communities who don't have fire departments, right? And I was just combining all the information together. I wouldn't understand that a smaller community like Peotone may be vastly different than Naperville, Illinois, and obviously for context, those populations are vastly different, right? And understanding that is going to be super helpful. So, third and last point I'll make is to push for transparency. So we should always know what assumptions a model will probably be making and what variables it's going to be using. So humans as like us, we should have the ability to override those like automated decisions, especially in areas like public safety, policing, and then of course public benefits, pensions, that kind of stuff too. So I think one of the biggest things I tell people all the time is advocate for an AI policy for your organization. Advocate for something that all of your employees and other people looking from the outside in can look at and say, okay, they're using this ethically. Brian brought up the ethics of AI earlier, and that is so important because if you're using it to do 100% of your work, you're probably doing it wrong, right? And so I think in general, having that policy will keep you on the right track to make sure you're not allowing those biases to come into your work. So at the end of the day, AI should help us correct those inequities, not kind of automate them.
Yeah, that's really key because if we're going to be doing a lot of work with AI as it is already the reality, then we should be able to trust what it's giving back. So yeah, thank you for that. Charles, how can HR leaders ensure that AI-based recruitment and performance systems remain ethical, transparent, and inclusive?
Okay, thank you, Isabel, and thank you, other panelists. Currently, I will start from that note. My university is recruiting, and we want to recruit 300 persons into the service. And as at last week, we are having 15,000 applicants online because the school adopted a technology-based recruitment system for that exercise. Now, as of last week, the question came up, how can we, what are we going to do? Look at the mammoth number, and we're looking for 300, and more applications are still coming in. And that reflects our question, how can we remain ethical? How can we remain transparent? And how can we become inclusive in our recruitment? And so I have 4 things I want to suggest that HR leaders could do to ensure that AI-based recruitment, AI-based performance management system remain ethical, remain transparent, and remain inclusive. Number 1, there is a need to have a strong governance framework. I don't expect HR leaders to go into recruitment, to go into performance management by themselves only. If we really want to get it right, there must be a partnership. Obi talked about data scientists. Now, they know deeper than the HR person in terms of data analytics. They need to be involved. There are legal teams in all organizations, and there are people who are in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. These people must have to come together to establish a clear standard. What are we expecting AI to do for us in this recruitment? What are we expecting AI to do for us in this performance management system? Not until when that has happened, if only the HR leader go ahead to do that, of course, at the end of the day, legal issues will come up, which the organization has to contest with the worker that may be affected in one way or the other. And then, depending on the goal of the recruitment, depending on the goal of the organization, the issue of diversity, the issue of equity, the issue of inclusion is very important. So this group must have to come together. Number 2, transparency must be a non-negotiable. Even though the AI algorithm may not really be exposed to the persons that you want to employ, the proprietary nature of the algorithm may not be exposed to the person, but people should be told this is the standard, this is what we are using this AI to do in this process of your recruitment, in this process of your performance management system. If they know, they will not doubt the outcome of such exercise. Why people doubt certain things is because they don't know. And you need to explain to them, this is what I'm using to judge you on this and judge you on this. Of course, like we said before, and like Micah has given us a pause word for this whole exercise, you discover that it is not only about AI, it is also about non-AI. And that is where the human aspect of it also comes in. Number 3, we must also preserve the central role of human judgment. I have just talked about now. Human judgment is quite important for HR leaders. It may not be important for data scientists, it may not be important for some other people in the organization, but as far as the HR leader is concerned, the issue of the role of human judgment cannot be underestimated. Now, AI can inform, but AI cannot replace what human beings, certain decisions that will come from human beings. If you have data, you have information, things have been played out by the AI, it is still a human being that will take the final decision. And those decisions, are cultural. Those decisions are ethical. Those decisions are human. And to the extent that AI may not be able to answer the 100% of such decisions. So we must, allow the human judgment to still prevail and not to be removed completely because we are using AI. Again, and finally, we must treat AI systems as evolving. AI is not sacrosanct. AI is not final. Technology will keep on evolving. I'm sure that by next 5 years, by next 10 years, AI will be improving, adding more features into it. The tools will be increasing, the tools will be expanded. So if you treat it today as sacrosanct or as final, you are going to make a mistake, because I'm talking of HR leaders, because there are human aspects to recruitment, there is human aspect to performance management system. So in general, for HR leaders to ensure that AI, based recruitment and performance management system is ethical, they have to do all that these 4 points I have mentioned, and even much more as the case may be. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Moving on quickly to Micah, how do you foresee AI influencing recruitment, staff evaluation, and internal communication within government offices?
Okay, I will use an unconventional approach and start with staff evaluation and internal communication. Recruitment, I have like a bad experience, but I will share in less than 3 minutes, hopefully. For AI, I feel it's going to help evaluate staff performance with clearer metrics and real-time dashboards, because performance evaluation is a key part in every organization. So instead of it to be manually done, I feel AI can set the metrics and help people make decisions, especially the supervisor in charge, to make the decision process faster. Then for communication, it's going to streamline internal communication by organizing information, reminding teams of tasks they should do, and reducing the bottlenecks that slow down government workflows. We always know, and I feel in the US it's a bit different, but I feel there are most Nigerians on this call. We know how the bureaucratic process in Nigeria can be. A process that is supposed to take maybe a few weeks or few days transcends into months. But I feel with AI, if it's properly deployed, it can bridge that gap. So now I will go to recruitment. I will give you two sides of the coin, right? I feel that it's going to help governments hire more efficiently. Charles said something about, imagine having 15,000 applicants. And Charles, did you say you need to pick 300 people or no?
Yeah, 300.
Okay, so imagine that, and the only way, believe you me, there's no one who's going to review 15,000 applications, right? But I feel what AI will do will be to screen the applications and highlight the strongest candidates. But there's a caveat. I feel that there are certain people who can manipulate the AI system by feeding it what it expects. right? And believe you me, not everyone who says they do certain things on their CV actually knows how to do it. So that means there's a form of like error that could happen. That's where I agree with Charles in terms of the fact that there has to be like a human element attached, right? Because when you go through the evaluation process, right, and there's a human involved, that's when the person can say, oh, all these things you put on paper, are you actually this good, or are you actually the right person for the job? So it's going to influence recruitment by helping people narrow down the people who should be interviewed. But we should also know that the human element is paramount in the process. I'll give an example. I was applying for jobs a few months ago, towards the end of my MPA program, and I got the fastest rejection in my life. I will explain. How did that happen? And I feel AI had a role to play with that. So I feel the AI in the organization, they set certain parameters. And for we as international students, we are looking for sponsorship, right? So during the application, as good Nigerians we are, we don't want to lie, we need sponsorship. I clicked yes, I will be looking for sponsorship now or in the future, right? So immediately I hit submit on the application, right? That was the fastest rejection I've ever gotten in my life. In 30 seconds, I got an email saying that I do not qualify for the position. So that was the fastest rejection, right? But at the end of the day, I sent an email to HR, but I feel they just tried to give me a diplomatic answer. But AI screened me out because I needed, because of that parameter. But I feel human interaction should be key in making those decisions. I will end with this. I will say AI will be the assistant that helps us hire better, to screen applicants. It will help us work smarter, and it will help us like communicate faster. But we should not ignore the human element in decision making, and we should use AI ethically. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Micah. And so sorry about that experience. It's not great at all.
It's
Yeah.
you learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Prince, our organization, NIU Afrique, urges youths from Africa to contribute to development of their home countries. What challenges do you think that scholars who study in developed countries like the US would face when they try to use what they've learned about AI to solve real problems in their developing countries?
All right, thank you very much for that question. And somehow I will lean towards what the second to last applicant, the last and the second to last applicant panelists just mentioned now. And I will explain this in 4 terms: policy, acceptance, availability, and the person. Now, what I mean by policy, like someone mentioned before, that the US government is trying to kind of regulate how AI is being used and everything. I think that for the person or for the graduate student to be able to apply what he or she has learned, I think that there should be some policy changes in Africa where organizations can kind of give some level of leverage to people on what they cannot do at the work or office setting. Because if, for instance, so many Nigerian universities till today, like some students in Africa doesn't even know how to send emails. Like, you can bear with me that some persons don't know how to send good emails. And if we don't allow some of these things to stand through based on policy, then it's going to be a very big challenge for the person coming in from US or from any other country to be able to apply what they have learned. Then the second thing is acceptance. You can agree with me how genetically modified food are being like the notion people feel about when it's being mentioned in Africa. Like when you hear about, oh, this food is genetically modified, like you know how people feel about it. So the same way, most persons have not accepted AI as a tool to help them in doing their jobs. For some persons see it as a struggle, in terms of like they want to say that the AI want to take my job, instead of accepting it as a means of improving their efficiency. So acceptance is one thing that needs to be worked on the people that were taking these developments to. Then another thing is availability. If, for instance, if you don't have network, if you don't have internet, you don't have light, how are you able to deploy what you've learned? Like, and then secondly, Now, the instrument I'm working with in my lab is just three in the world right now. So, like, if I finish and I want to go back to Nigeria to practice, how am I going to practice? Availability of some of these things. And I feel like in Africa, we have the resources to make some of these things available, but because we've not yet accepted them, that's why we're not yet making them available. Then the last thing I'll talk about is the person bringing in the policy or the change. The way you approach things matters a lot. Like, if you come to tell me, oh, I want you to use AI is the real thing, you need to explain to me why and how I'm going to use this AI to be able to better and produce more efficient results, or maybe how it will advance my life. As a medical doctor, right now, you want to do surgery, you're not leaning towards that path, and then you're just telling me, oh, just use AI. Then at some point, if the doctor is not well oriented with the use of it, the person will think, oh, maybe you want to deploy AI to do the surgeries, and then that way you kick him out of business, right? So the people, policies, acceptance, and availability are the things that will help mitigate those challenges that we're likely to face. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing justice to that. I particularly am biased towards that because, of course, I'm doing research and I want to go back home and see what I can do with it. But there's also the problem of being able to implement some of these things or carry them out in real time. So yeah, thank you. So we've just gone into the final round of the questions and it's past the scheduled time. Can I again appeal to the panelists to keep our responses to 1 minute and 30 seconds, just because we don't want this event overshooten. It's past time already. I know you have a lot to say and we appreciate what you're doing already, but can we just try and keep our responses to 1 minute and 30 seconds? Thank you. Brian, what ethical or workforce challenges has your organization encountered while adopting automation tools or AI in decision-making processes?
Yeah, so I would say first and foremost, like a caveat to that question is that we don't currently implement any AI tools right now that I would categorize as high risk that would ultimately lead to machine learning or general AI being used for ultimate decision making that should land on the human level. Like I mentioned before, we're big in technology, but the good part of government is there's a lag usually. There's time to research, there's time to vet, there's time to develop policy that's catered towards your local organization. And that's something I've learned over my career is patience is key to be able to do these things effectively and do them ethically. So I will say though that for us, the biggest challenge is just being a lean organization, myself kind of being the primary policy developer for anything information technology related. I am part of what our county level has developed, which is an IT roundtable. So leveraging other municipal groups and our county partners on developing more policy guidelines rather than changing information system policies every single day while technology advances over an exponential time frame, and then training staff. So with the lean kind of IT department that we have, even opening up the floodgates for staff to be able to go to IT to vet systems that have embedded AI code or applications that they can leverage. To me, it's about creating awareness first, creating the educational platform for our users, for our residents, and also allowing kind of a pathway forward for people to actually get these things approved or whitelisted and then understand how to ethically use them. So currently, I got a draft guideline document that I'm going to propose to our village board in January. We have AI training from a third-party vendor that's doing a current cybersecurity assessment test within our network systems that's going to be given to staff in January as well. So I think we're kind of at the basic level right now, but I would say ultimately our challenge is just finding the time and resources and the expertise to be able to give staff and the public parameters on how we use AI, why we use it, where we use it, letting people know that it is a tool for their job, but it will never replace, in my opinion, the human interaction and the importance of relationships within an organization and also within a community. So thank you.
Thank you. Obina, what are the main ethical and security considerations your organization faces in using AI for financial operations? And how should graduate programs prepare students for these realities?
Yeah, thank you very much, Isabella. So first of all, I want to say that I don't speak for my organization. So everything I say here is just my opinion. And I know this is my final question. So I want to thank the moderator, Isabel, for doing a phenomenal job, like with moderating this. She has done a very good job summarizing of all of our points. And I also want to thank my fellow panelists for bringing their multidisciplinary expertise to this discussion. I've learned from all of you. These are things I'm going to take back to my more technical roles. Yeah, I want to also emphasize the point that Charles and Micah made. So we call that human in the loop, and that's basically human beings being involved in the process of like in the entire process of AI work and all of that. So we need human beings to be there to ensure that AI systems are fair and all of that. So I want to really appreciate them for making that point. So to my question, so one ethical issue that has come with financial institutions in general adopting AI is data privacy, right? So we know that these AI systems are built or trained on large amounts of private and financial data, right? So this makes it possible for data breaches to happen, and that kind of like jeopardizes people's privacy. Just imagine your personal information like SSN or your home address being vulnerable to attacks. So that's a very important ethical concern. And another one, I already talked about it initially, and that's how AI systems can perpetuate biased historical data. When I give example of women being denied a loan just for being women and all of that. So if we train AI systems on that kind of data, it's going to perpetuate that bias, and that is a very big ethical concern. And for the security part of the question, I would say AI systems, especially if there is no human being, like human in the loop system, right? It can cause reputational risk for a financial institution. Just think about a financial institution that has been found to deny loans based on someone's gender, right? And this is basically done by AI. That is going to affect the reputation of that institution greatly, and that is going to affect the trust that people have in that financial institution, right? So getting to the other part of that question, what graduate programs can do, right, to prepare students? Well, the first one is to provide hands-on training to the. We need cybersecurity experts who can defend AI systems against cyber attacks. Like cyber crimes is like I believe is probably the highest rising crime in the whole world. Like last year, US companies lost close to 20 billion in cyber crime, right? So producing students who can defend AI systems would be very important. And also we need to teach our machine learning engineers not just how to build algorithms, but also how to evaluate bias in their data, just to ensure that their systems that they build are fair and transparent. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that response. Yates, multi-sectoral arrangements help joint institutions achieve what they could not achieve as a single entity. To this end, what new types of cross-sector collaboration, public, private, academic, do you see emerging around AI-informed governance? And what skills are most relevant for graduates entering this space?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think we're seeing a huge rise in cross-sector ecosystems around AI governance, particularly with the public and academic areas. So local governments are constantly, I feel like, partnering with universities to help collaborate with data or, some sort of policy lab. One of the things I love about local government is we're always looking asking each other like, hey, have you done this before? And I guarantee somebody you know has probably been through that, you know. And so it's really good. So I think in general those collaborations share real world data. And students kind of help build those tools or evaluate policies. One big example is at NIU. Obviously, we have the MPA program, but there's also a plethora of other programs that municipalities use through the Department of Governmental Studies, through strategic planning and things like that to help public or private organizations go through an audit or do a strategic planning session, things like that. So obviously partnering with a lot of tech companies as well, sometimes startups, sometimes major firms to as you know, Brian mentioned earlier, digital permitting, chatbots, predictive analysis. I mean, I've seen it go as far as taking a picture of your car parked outside your home and asking it, is this legal or not? You know, so the little things like that, I think you're finding collaborations from a lot of different entities constantly. The one thing I'll say is just as we kind of discovered from the internet boom is there's been so much investment in these AI companies that as the years start to go forward a little bit, I think you're going to see the amount of companies AI driven slowly dwindle to a lot of the major, like the major corporations like OpenAI, and things like that. So I would just be weary as we move forward to make sure that we're, you know, your or whoever is getting the product that they want. So yeah, I think it's going great. Again, tech fluency plus policy influency is really good. So
Thank you. I agree with that. I mean, if we were not listening to the message about collaborating, COVID taught us to listen and work together. And yeah, so I think there's a lot of work to be done in coming together, and we'd be more productive if we just work together. Thank you so much. Charles, over to you. What advice would you give to young professionals from Africa or other developing countries on choosing graduate programs that align with future HR and talent management trends?
All right. I will join Obi to appreciate everyone for making it a day, and also to ask Isabel why I see Charles around her name. She should come to explain and then let us know why there is the Charles over there.
I'm going to do
Okay.
that after the call.
All right. And then before I say one or two things on that, I want to believe that when we are choosing graduate programs, we are choosing it to come back to our various countries. And I'm sure all of you are going to come back. Because if you don't come back, you cannot impact on our HR, neither can you impact on our talent management system. So please plan to come back. That's it.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Having said that, quickly, I think those who are choosing graduate programs should choose something that is future focused and not something that is legacy focused. There is a difference between future focused courses and legacy focused courses. So I advise you choose future focused courses. You know, some parents in those days want their children to become doctors, lawyers, and whatever. So it is no longer in vogue now. What is in vogue is what is the future has for us. So choose programs that are future focused. And then, of course, HR has to be attached to whatever you are doing. You know, some of us that are doing public administration and rest of them, fine. But find a niche in that area of public administration that we connect HR or that we connect AI to whatever you are doing. In that way, you are choosing a future-focused course. Secondly, I want us to also look for programs that can offer us practical and skill-based learning. Now, the world is changing and the world will continue to change. You know, in the developing countries like ours, theoretical education is in vogue. Though people are beginning to change, but I'm sure where you are, most of you are, it is no longer about theory, it's about skill. So let's choose courses that are skill-based instead of courses that are theoretically oriented. And again, let's choose courses that will give us global exposure and cross-cultural competence. Globalization has come. It has broken the walls. it has made the world a village. And so you can transcend from one angle to the other. If that is the case, you must choose a course that will give you global exposure and cause you to work cross-culturally. If that is not done, you discover that you will not be able to, get yourself jobs that will pay very well. Again, I want you to also consider courses that will offer you what I can call the power of specialization. There are courses that, inside it can offer you power of specialization. Now, that is a win-win for you. If you are specialized in a particular aspect of public administration, for instance, a particular aspect of medicine, a particular aspect of nursing, you discover that you have created a niche for yourself, and that will make you to shine and to be bright. And finally, I want us to also choose courses that will align with our region's realities and opportunities. Just like I said earlier, many of us, when we are filling our forms and writing our SOPs, we say that when we come back to our country, we're going to, deploy whatever we have learned. And so the regional realities and opportunities are still there. And you are going to garner knowledge to come back and better your society. So make sure that you are in tune with what is happening. Somebody, I think it was Micah, that I was talking about bureaucracy and whatever, what have you. But I can assure you that there are organizations in Nigeria today, for instance, that have gone digital. They have gone far. So if you still have the idea that every organization, public organization here is bureaucratic, I tell you, it is a no-no now. We are changing because of what the society is exposing us to. In summary, I'm saying that programs that will create an intersection for HR, for technology, for analytics, for global practice should be a win-win for us. And so let us also go out there, not losing sight with our local realities and the unique value that we can bring back to our countries, upon graduating from our various institutions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. That was well said and well summarized. Micah, what advice would you give to graduate students in balancing technical expertise with leadership and interpersonal skills in a technology-driven public sector?
Okay, I will try to see if I can keep this under 2 minutes. This is the first point I will say. Learn the tech stuff, yes, but don't forget how to be a good person. The second point would be kind, listen to others, speak clearly, work well in a team, and show respect. The third one will be technology helps you do the job, but your character is what will make people trust you. The fourth point is if you can do both, use computers, use technology well, but also treat people well. You will shine anywhere you go. One of the things that I can speak for myself, but I feel all the places I've worked so far, I feel if there's one thing that has made me stand out is having to try as much as possible to follow the same principles. And one thing it does for us as Africans or Nigerians is if you do this well, people would have a good perception of your fellow countrymen, right? They will see Nigerians as being trustworthy, as a good team player. So they're looking out for these core competencies as well. So that's I would just end with this. Be good with people, but even be better with people. So, or be good with technology, but even be better with people, because without the people, you cannot climb and get to where you need to get to. Thank you so much. I appreciate being on this panel. Thank you for being a very amazing moderator, Isabel.
Thank you, Micah. I like how you always tie it back to people, because in the end, it's about people. Thank you. Very key. Prince, last question. In your view, how can programs we do in EduAfrica Scholars help students use what they learn in school to get good jobs and build successful careers in a world where AI is changing the way people work?
Thank you very much for that question, and thank you for taking your time to get us through this program. And also thank you to our panelists who has, in one way or the other, enriched our knowledge. Like the question you asked me now, I think it's just what we're already doing right now. Like the answer is what we're just doing here. So, and I'll just summarize what we're doing here and what NIU Africa is doing in 3 points. One is accept, adopt, and implement. So what I mean by accept is people should accept the reality. Like people should accept the reality we are into now, and people should adopt what they are being taught. Yeah, you are being taught things in class, you are being taught in your different institutions. Like Urban rightly mentioned something today, or like, oh, he mentioned some skills that you need to learn, like how you can get through it. Now, these are the program NIU Africa has been organizing, and even in the past, we've had series of events that were taught towards this aspect as well. And as an individual, you can't grow and you can't develop if you don't I used to call it unlearn, learn and relearn. So if you don't unlearn some of the things you've already learned before, like there's already circulating in your head that this is the way it should be done, you need to unlearn some of those things and then learn what is in the current, and then relearn what you need to relearn. So that's where adopting comes into play. You have to adopt what you are being taught, and then you have to implement whatever you've already learned. So if you, people say knowledge is power, but I don't believe in that. I believe that applied knowledge, because if you have a knowledge and you never applied it, then that point you can never have the power within the knowledge. So if you don't implement whatever you've learned from here or what you've been learning from NIU Africa, then there's no way you can better yourself in terms of employability and in terms of anything you're all seeking for. Right now, I'm doing cancer biology, doing my cell and everything, but I've taken classes on Python, R, and data science. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I know that the world is evolving, and at some point, I'll have to integrate data science in whatever I'm doing. So it must not be data science; it can be another part of your of AI or whatever we're doing. So, like accept, adopt, and implement. That will help us to get where we're going to. Thank you very much. And also take time to rewatch some of the trainings we've been doing in NIU Africa, like go to the YouTube channels, go to that. We've had times we'll talk about scholarship applications, like different things, but you can't just streamline your head into what you're doing now. Take time to make research and develop yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prince. It's so lovely to get panelists drop key lines: accept, adopt, implement. Thanks a lot. So just a quick wrap up. I'm going to go through the panelists in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So I'll sign off with Brian. If you could give one piece of advice to a young African scholar about choosing a graduate program that prepares them for the AI-driven future, what would it be and why?
Well, I'm biased, so I think you should go get a graduate degree in MPA studies. I think everybody on this call, panelists, audience, hit me up on LinkedIn, connect with me. The best reward in my career and in life is looking back to where I came from and helping the next person identify what they want to do and give them real world job experience and opportunities that prepare them for anything that they want to do. And I think the MPA program, the internships that are provided, working directly with local government, it will give you a broad scope of knowledge. Could find a niche with AI-driven projects and things like that within organizations, but I think ultimately the work that we do is so important. It's not profit-driven, it's people-driven. And we get to go to work every single day being grateful for what we do because we see the immediate impact of everything that we do on the communities that we serve. So please consider it as a career, consider it as an opportunity to structure your way of thinking and how you apply your characteristics that Micah talked about, your own value into a very rewarding career path. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Obinna?
Okay. I thought I answered my last question already. But I mean, what I would say, so what I would say is there is no particular field I would recommend. I would just say choose a program that empowers you to prefer practical solutions to African problems, right? So just focus on learning how to use AI to provide solutions to some of our development challenges in Africa. For example, how do we use AI to deliver better healthcare to, let's say, people in the rural areas, right? How do we use AI to improve educational outcomes for many jobless youths we have in Africa? So these are some of the questions we should be thinking about answering as Africans going into school. It's all about the solutions. For me, you can use AI even if you're a doctor, an economist, a public administrator, whatever field. Just try to think of how to use AI to solve different problems we have in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Yates, what advice have you got for us?
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. It's by Aristotle, and he says, "We are what we repeatedly do, therefore excellence is not an act, but a habit." And that's something I think about every day. And what I mean by that is the world is changing fast, very fast. But the fundamentals of good leadership and setting yourself up for success are timeless. So choose a program that's going to grow you as a thinker and a public servant. And that's going to set you up for a lifetime of impact. So thank you again for having me. It's been a great time. So
Thank you, Yates. Thank you. Charles, parting words.
All right, thank you so much. I want to say that the graduate students, they should consider themselves as privileged human beings to have flown to different countries. There are many here that are looking forward for that opportunity. So if you consider it that way, you will not joke when you get there. And I want to tell us that we should be future focused, but should not forget where we are coming from. If you join the two together, you'll be able to sojourn, succeed, and still come back to Africa to do the needful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. Micah?
Yeah, so what I would just say is choose a graduate program that teaches you how to think with data and how to solve real problems with people. AI can do calculations, but it's your ability to understand the community you're in, analyze the information, and turn it into action that will set you apart. So that is what I'm not going to recommend. As much as I want people to do the MPA or MPP, I feel based on what I've said, you know what the answer is, or you know the path you would want to take. Because in an AI-driven world, the students who succeed are the ones who can combine the technical skills and that which is the data analytics, GIS code, whatever, with human skills, leadership, communication skills, and cultural understanding. AI may work faster, but it will take a human to make decisions that are fair, ethical, and good for society. So when you do all this, and with what I said earlier about trust, the sky is your starting point. So thank you so much. This was an amazing session to be a part of.
Thank you, Micah. And Prince.
Yeah, thank you very much once again. So I just have something I want to say here. One is choose what you love most to do, and then leave it, modify it to what you want it to be. What I mean by choose what you love most to do, like most times people say, "Oh, do this, do that," but no, data is everywhere. Like that, everything in this life has to do with data. So even if it's mortuary attendance, then you also have to work with data. So choose what you find you feel joyous doing, then leave it as if it's your life, modify it to that and where you want it to be. So if you're expecting a better life for data scientists or people, then modify it to where you want it to be. So choose it, modify it, leave it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Prince. What a great way to wrap up this session. Thank you so much to all our panelists. I know we've gone past the time by over half an hour, but it's been great having you all on this call. And it's been my immense pleasure and honor to have moderated this session. Thank you all so much. I'm going to pass us over to Stanley for the rest of the session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't. I would just. I feel like flying on the air right now. I mean, I'm so happy, so elated today to listen to the amazing points you guys have shared here. I mean, now that you guys are talking, I feel like changing my research to AI. I don't know. I don't know if my supervisor will allow that, but then I mean, it's quite something that is very, AI has come to stay and we are really enjoying it. And a lot of organizations, a lot of programs are actually imbibing it into what they are doing. When Charles Obachi was saying something about where we can focus on, and even when Obina was saying what we should focus, what thing that came to my mind, I said, we can focus on how we can use AI to solve insecurity problem, especially in Nigeria, because that is a burning issue at the moment. But we may focus on that now, but I know maybe as time goes on, the insecurity problem may go. So it may not be useful again. And it may contravene with what Charles Obochi said, that whatever we are planning on our graduate program should be a futuristic thing, not something that is within now and that might end. Just like my supervisor, when I was consulting my supervisor in this my PhD program, we were talking about what I can do. So one of the things she said is, you don't want to do something that will just be for now. You just have to do something that will will not something that will not phase away, because at the moment you may be doing this topic may be a topic that is burning issue now, but within the next 4 to 5 years, is it still something that is burning issue? Is it still something that is relevant? So you might want to consider something that will be relevant within the next 5 to 10 years. So this is one very good advice that she gave me. So when I went home, I was kind of thinking, how do I restructure? Because I presented some topics to her, but she was like, yeah, these topics are so fantastic, but there are something that is within this period. What if in the next 5 years, this problem is solved and you're going to be doing your dissertation within the next three years or thereabout. So it might be that at that point, this topic may not be relevant again. So these are the things that we look at while we are studying, especially in a country as developed as we are today. And thank you all for your active participation. Thank you for sharing these points with us. Some of the people we are asking, I don't know if we have anybody from the audience who have any question to ask. If we do not have that, in fact, I don't think we may have much time to entertain more questions at the moment, because we've really gone beyond the time we plan to do this program. But then some of the people we are asking, will the panelists be willing to connect with them on LinkedIn? So, and I would say on behalf of the panelists that they are open to connect with you guys. So you are seeing their names here. You can just go to LinkedIn, search them and connect with them, because they have a lot to. So if you have any question, you can probably ask them. I know that these people they are very wonderful people. Most times when we do program at EduAfrica, we try to look at people who are receptive, people who can, give you what you want. So that's why we try to look at people who can actually accept, because some of these young people from different parts of the world are actually looking for connections such as this. And connecting with people in the developed world will help them to learn, just like we always say, learn, unlearn, and relearn. And you cannot succeed without networking. Networking is something that is in thing now. Networking is very important. It's one of the things, one of the skills that they taught us when we were in NIU doing our MPA program. And I'm very happy to NIU MPA program for exposing us to a lot of networking programs, a lot of networks. And due to the network we have, Micah and I would say that that is what has brought us this far, because we have really enjoyed that, and it has really helped us attending conferences, attending networking, other professional development programs, and all of that. So these are the opportunities that these young ones are looking for. And I'm happy to let you guys know that we are connecting you guys to them. That's why our organization is called Education African Scholars Global Connect. Global, we are connecting people globally, people from different parts of the world, connecting, just like we are here in this program. A lot of people are joining us from different parts of the world. That is part of what we do, and that's part of the mission of this organization. So on behalf of the entire team of Education African Scholars Global Connect, I want to say thank you to all the panelists, and thank you in a special way, Isabel, for being professional in this. I mean, you were amazing. You are amazing. I mean, we are so grateful. Thank you for doing everything. And thank you to all the panelists for sharing your thoughts, sharing your time. I mean, we are more than 2 hours here. And I know that we are in a country where hours, we work by hours, we don't work by monthly, And I know what many organizations pay somebody for just 1 hour, and we spent like 2 hours. It's a great thing, it's a great gift that you guys have given to these guys, and they will continue to appreciate it because you guys have really donated. In fact, what you guys have given now is something that is very, very precious. So giving your time and spending like 2 hours educating people, these are the part of the things we talk about, giving back to the society. And we are very happy that you guys are part of this. Going forward, EduAfrica will keep on collaborating, partnering with you guys in our future programs. We are looking forward sometime next year, hosting some other programs such as this. We are looking forward to hosting a public lecture, hosting a conference, and all of that. These are the things that are still within the board to discuss about. So as time goes on, we'll be able to communicate with you guys. And then finally, EduAfrica is celebrating its 5 years this year. And I think that program is coming up, I think sometime in December. So we are going to inform you guys. And at that program, we're going to appreciate all the people that have contributed to our organization in one way or the other. And we hope to applaud all of you at that event. And we hope to invite you guys. It's going to be it's going to be a hybrid event where people will join online and will be physical. So we are going to unveil it as soon as possible, and we're going to invite you guys to be part of that. Thank you, guys, and may God continue to bless you as you move on to the rest of your programs. And next week is, I think next week is Thanksgiving week, and I know that a lot of people will be traveling this period to go and meet their loved ones. So on behalf of Education African Scholars Global Connect, I say happy